11 o'clock, the Friday edition of Three Man Front. So glad you're with us. Mike Rodak, who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, will preview Alabama, Tennessee coming up in just a moment. We do have college football coming up tonight. Big one out of the ACC. Second-ranked Miami hosting Louisville. Miami currently around a 2-touchdown favorite. You get that one at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Molly's Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on Minnesota. 7 o'clock on Fox. San Jose State is at Utah State. 8 o'clock kick on CBS Sports Network. And the Blue Plate special from one Wimp Sanderson. North Carolina traveling to Berkeley to take on Cal. 9:30 the kick on ESPN. Cal around an 8.5 point favorite, depending on where you look. The Finnick. That is the place this weekend. Whether it's tonight, whether it's Major League Baseball playoffs, whether it's college football, whether it's the NFL. They've got the video boards, they got the large screens, the state-of-the-art sound system, and a wonderful menu, whether it's the burgers, the wings, the salads, the steaks. You can find it there at the Finnick. They have NFL fan groups that come in, have watch parties, Red Zone Sunday ticket, all the college football, Auburn, Alabama, UAB, you can imagine. It's the Finnick, 1630 2nd Avenue South near Railroad Park.
So Alabama is tied with Boise State for the second longest current home winning streak in all of college football at 15 games. And Tennessee is seeking its first win in Tuscaloosa since October 25th, 2003. Joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline from Bama 247, Mike Rodak joins us now. Mike, I hope you're doing well. I want to start with the injury front. I know that we saw last night an improved status in regards to Jam Miller. Are you hearing anything different? Do you believe he will be on the field tomorrow night at Bryant-Denny?
Yeah. I mean, with the probable designation, that basically means it's, I want to say virtual certainty, but pretty close to it, that a player is going to be out there. So, having that happen on Thursday night is obviously a good sign. And I guess theoretically there's still time for some sort of setback or turnaround, and there's going to be another report tonight and another report 5 p.m. tomorrow. But I just wouldn't anticipate anything changing. So yeah, that's big. I mean, that's obviously he's been your most productive running back so far this season, and he seems to be getting better, as he's played more. But more importantly, I think in this game, he's your best pass protector, and you're going to need that against Tennessee's defense and what they're able to produce, in terms of the pass rush. They're fourth in the country in sack rate. There's 15 different players in Tennessee that have at least a half sack this season. So A, the offensive line needs to step up, but B, having a guy like Jam to pick up some of those blitzes is going to be pretty important.
How problematic do you see, based on what you've seen from Alabama, Kane Womack defensively, is this Tennessee offense, and what challenges do you think that they potentially offer the Tide defense when it comes to Bryant-Denny tomorrow?
I think it's the balance, because a couple years ago, I think viewed Tennessee as a kind of high-flying passing team, with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and the speed that they played with, and then they kind of morphed the last couple years with Nico and some of his deficiencies as a passer into more of a running team with Dylan Sampson. And so we've seen Tennessee beat Alabama both ways, two different defenses, obviously, in that case. But this Tennessee team right now feels like it can kind of do both, between Joey Aguilar and their passing game, which has been very good, and then their running game with Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas has also been very good. Bishop's averaging 7.6 yards per carry and almost 9 yards a carry these last couple games against Mississippi State and Arkansas. So it's kind of the balance and the multiplicity of it, where you don't know what exactly you're going to get. And from what I've heard, and I haven't watched a ton of Tennessee, I watched the Georgia game. I can't say I've watched these last couple games for them, but it seems like they're doing a little bit less of kind of what their bread and butter was a couple years ago with the wide splits and all that, and some more traditional formations. So if it's a little bit less predictable in terms of where they're lining up and what they're going to do, then that kind of adds to the problems there. And look, if it is a wide split situation where you have your receivers all the way out near the sideline, that does tend to put stress on your linebackers and your safeties. Obviously we saw that, 3 years ago, DeMarco Hellams at safety, and some of the issues he had in that game. And I would be interested to see how Deontay Lawson and Nikai Hill-Green in particular hold up if they're really stretched in the middle of the field. But, they did a pretty good job against Tennessee last year. It wasn't great. It obviously wasn't enough to win that game. But I do think this Tennessee offense is better. And, let's have to see how Kane can kind of adjust and respond to that.
All right, so we're talking about defense. Let's talk about the offensive side of things because Alabama's Ty Simpson, number 2 quarterback in the SEC behind Joey Aguilar in regards to number of passing yards per game. But my goodness gracious, the Tennessee defense, especially the secondary, that is one of the poorest units in the Southeastern Conference. How do you see Alabama being able – do you think they'll be able to move the ball quite easily against Tennessee? I know you mentioned before about everyone, it's got a half a sack on the defensive front, but their secondary, that is a very, very poor group.
Right. It's kind of all or nothing in terms of they can, really collapse the pocket and get after you. And in addition to the 15 guys who have a sack, or at least a half sack, they have 8 different players who are forced to fumble. So that's a little bit concerning seeing, these last couple weeks, seeing Ty having taken 8 sacks now the last 2 games, having the fumble that he had against Mizzou. It doesn't really matter if your receiver beats the coverage down the field if Ty has 3 guys on top of him right away. So you got to prevent some of those breakdowns. Obviously, Wilkin Formby is probably number 1 on your list of guys that just needs to settle in and have a good game if he does play a whole lot. And we'll have to see kind of what the distribution is between him and Michael Carroll at right tackle. But you can't allow the free rushers and, allow Ty to just get rocked. But if Ty's able to have a little bit of time, then in theory, yes. I mean, I think you can put up some yards and some points against this defense. And obviously, Jeremy Bernard said what he did earlier this week in terms of it's a great opportunity when you're playing man to man and they're bringing the house, as he says, and you kind of have those one-on-one battles that, I think Alabama would be in a pretty good position to win, especially, Tennessee's still missing Jerron McCoy from his ACL injury. So it's I won't say a gamble for Tennessee, but it is kind of you either really get after Alabama or you don't get to them and then they're able to beat you through the air. I think it's probably one of those sorts of games, but I don't know if Ryan Grubb also just wants to sit back and throw the ball 50 times a game. I still think he wants to get this running game going. And if you have Jam, I think he's going to try to use them and see what they can do. And that sets up the play action pass. And, they have been methodical in offense and holding the ball and just trying to get first downs. And they're not necessarily driving the ball down the field all the time. And I mean, even this last game, look at Jeremy Bernard at 20 yards, Isaiah Horton at 34, Ryan Williams had 0. So that's 54 yards among your top 3 receivers against Missouri's defense. Missouri's defense had some questions going in too. So, it's not a given. It's not a guarantee that Alabama's going to light up Tennessee, but I think it's kind of what a lot of people would expect.
Now that we're halfway through the season, aside from Ty Simpson on the offensive side of the ball, who's been the most pleasant surprise for you, Mike?
On the offensive side, you're saying?
Yeah.
I think Jam, to be honest. I had a lot of questions about Jam and kind of his ability to make explosive plays, and I think that still exists to some degree, but he's been better than I would have thought, especially given some of the questions they've had along the offensive line and obviously rotating, 3 of those guys through pretty well or 3 of those positions through. So, I think Jam has probably been better. The rest of the running back room, and Kevin Riley feels like he's cooled off a little bit. If you look at his stats from the first 2 games versus the last 4, you've pretty much taken Richard Young out of the rotation. Daniel Hill's gotten a little bit more playing time with, Jam's injury, but Jam's probably the guy that has been a little bit better, but I still think the running game needs to be better. I don't know if there's even that receiver. I mean, I think we expected Bernard to play well. Josh Cuevas, I think, has probably been better than I would have thought at tight end. Playing that full-time role, being a blocker and a pass catcher, I think he's done a good job with that. But I think it's been as expected and, kind of across the board for the offense.
In regards to these quick starts that the opposition has been able to get offensively, it happened in the Vanderbilt game. It happened last week in Columbia. It looked like it was going to be a shootout after Mizzou was able to matriculate down the field pretty quickly against Kane Womack's defense. And I know Kane Womack said earlier this week at his press conference that they need to do a better job of getting out of the gate and being more of a shutdown defense at the beginning of the game. But what adjustments are you seeing, or what is happening? Why these teams are able to take advantage? Is this just guys being out of position and it's kind of a fluky thing, or is this some kind of mindset that is happening with this defensive unit?
In terms of them playing better in the second half, you're saying?
Yes, yeah, as opposed to the slow start at the beginning where.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if there's one overriding answer. I think it's, there's probably a little bit of just settling into the game and knowing what you're seeing. The Mizzou game, it was a couple plays, bang, 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 and it just happened really quickly, and they got yelled and screamed at on the sideline, and it's like, all right, now it's time to play. Florida State was probably even similar. It's like you gave up a lot of big plays early, and then it's all right, now it's time to play the game, and they were better in the second half in general in that game. Vandy, right, same thing. So I don't know if there's a specific adjustment. I haven't really seen any personnel changes, going from the first drive to the third, fourth, fifth drive that would, signal that Kane Womack's drawing something up differently on defense. But, it's just probably just translating whatever they're doing in practice to actually doing it on the field. And maybe that takes a little bit longer, and maybe it takes some yelling from, like Christian Robinson, the outside linebackers coach, was screaming at Yonze Pierre after that first drive. Tim Keenan, I think, was getting into players after the big touchdown run that Vandy had a couple weeks ago. Like, I think it's just sometimes it's just you gotta get that wake up call. You gotta need that slap in the face a little bit to get going. But I don't know if it's anything that they're structurally doing different. After the first drive or two of these games.
All right, we always wait for it. We wait for you, Mike, to give your prediction. How does this one go?
I do think it's higher scoring. I said that about the Vandy game, and I feel like it was headed that way until some of those red zone stops. And I feel like this one's similar. I do think Tennessee's offense is better than Vandy's, but I don't know if their defense is quite as good. So we'll see. I do have Alabama winning 40-34, I think was my prediction.
Oh,
I think
74
40 points.
Wow.
That is not a cover.
Yeah. No.
Mike likes the over.
I like the over in this game. I do. But look, this team wins at home. Like, we've seen that time and time again. It's 36 out of 37 now that they've won at home, but it's also not a guarantee. I think it's 7 out of the past 9 games, SEC games, that they've played at home. They've been trailing at some point in those games, and some of those were a little bit hairier than others. So I can see Tennessee threatening. I can see them getting after Ty. I can see them forcing turnovers. I can see them doing X, Y, and Z against Alabama to make this game competitive. I just think at the end of the day, Ty Simpson's playing at such a high level right now and making enough good decisions that I think you can overcome that. So, and with the talent you have at receiver relative to what Tennessee has in their secondary, I've been saying this every week, but I think it's just a weekly mismatch. And that's kind of what tips the scale for me and makes me pick them.
He likes Alabama 40-34 coming up at Bryant-Denny. Mike, always appreciate your time. Enjoy the festivities the third Saturday in October, and we'll catch up next week.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
As Mike Rodak joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
Conrad, you better take extra deodorant tomorrow. If you get a 40-34 prediction like Mike Rodak just gave us,
I'll be sweating big time. Ooh. Do you think I should wear the hat in the press box?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
If you guys are watching on YouTube, this is new. I have not seen him wear the straw Nick Saban hat.
I told you I had a surprise yesterday.
I called him coach 3 times by
Did
accident.
You? Yeah. Did he cuss you out?
Mm-mm. No.
As he was leading.
Tomorrow just means a little more.
He was eating his little Debbie pies in the office.
Yeah, with his cold coffee.
And watching the Weather Channel.
Yes.
I just want y'all to know that I have a deep deliberation every Friday morning now, and I sit down in front of my closet, and I look at the Bray Hubbard, and I look at the Tua, And it's a tough decision every Friday.
You sit down Indian style
Yes.
with candles in front of your closet.
Yes.
And listen to Metallica trying to come up with what you're going to wear.
That's right.
And burn incense.
Mm-hmm.
What is your record wearing that Tua jersey?
Now probably undefeated.
I don't think so.
I'm probably undefeated.
Wait, what did you wear in Norman? Did you wear a collared shirt or did you wear a jersey?
I wore this.
You did?
Yeah. Unfortunately. But today I figured I'd go with the guy that never lost to Tua versus Bray Hubbard, who's lost to Tennessee before while on the roster.
And I believe that was
that is 100%
thought process.
That is 100% why I wore the Tua jersey. Yeah.
Sounded authentic.
All right, we will roll on this Friday. Don't forget we've got Bet It or Forget It coming up at 12:30. Kyle Parmalee at 1. It's a Football Friday on Jocks. Welcome back in. It's a Football Friday here on Jocks. Appreciate Mike Rodak, Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us. We'll do Bet It or Forget It coming up at 12:30. Kyle Parmalee talk a little high school football at 12 noon. If you got a dangerous tree that's leaning over your house or maybe branches blocking your view, call Golston Tree Service today, 205-337-4443. Golston's licensed pros. They handle everything from trimming to pruning to full tree removals, fast, safe, and affordable. Don't wait until the next storm causes damage. Call Golston Tree Service. Golston also offers 24-hour emergency tree service. So when it comes to your trees, don't risk it. Call Golston Tree Service 205-337-4443.
Text line is open. Best way to interact with us is always on the Jocks text line 205-834-9450. This one sent from the Jocks app. Already open Arkansas and Penn State jobs, and likely Florida and more. Do you guys think that might help Hugh Freeze keep his job if Auburn doesn't want to get in a bidding war this year and wait one more? No, I don't think that will have anything to do with the people at Auburn's decision to retain or to depart from Hugh Freeze. What do you think, Pat?
I agree.
Drake says, I keep telling you guys, Florida's going to make Lane an offer he can't refuse.
Now, I'm not being argumentative with the texter. I'm just curious. Like when people say that, are you talking about like $15 million a year?
$15 million guaranteed for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, is
You're
that
talking $150 million guaranteed for Lane Kiffin? Yeah, that probably makes him think about it. But other than that, if he's happy, how much more Ole Miss would be willing to pay to keep Lane? I think it's a non-starter, personally.
Here's what I think.
You hate hearing that, Drake.
I think if Lane Kiffin gets through this whole entire cycle and he stays at Ole Miss, he will be at Ole Miss for a very long time. Now, that doesn't mean that he might not look at something seriously in this cycle. I just think that if he gets through this one without leaving Oxford, he's there long term.
Would Bill Clark take a Power 5 offer? I guess it depends on what the offer would be. He told us on the show Monday, and I'll paraphrase what he said, but everything's got to be aligned right. He's not interested in going through a bunch of interviews. Somebody wants to call him, offer him a job, he would consider it. Someone chiming in that Heather Dinich is not smart and gets fed sports-related questions, so an earpiece? Huh. Doesn't know what she's talking about. I disagree.
I disagree too. I think Heather is an outstanding addition.
She is not throwing Ryan Day or Kalen DeBoer's name up against the wall just to see if it sticks.
Now, I've known Heather since she was covering the Maryland Terrapins for ESPN.com many, many years ago. Now, I think she's an outstanding journalist. I think she does a great job covering the college football playoffs. So,
yeah. She's not looking for clicks.
No.
Georgia girl wanted to know why she didn't throw Kirby's name in there.
I think we all know that one's off limits.
Freeze needs to admit he got Jackson Arnold because he beat Bama last year.
I think Hugh Freeze got Jackson Arnold because he was a former 5-star quarterback that was in a really terrible situation last year and wanted a fresh start, and Hugh Freeze thought that he could fix his problems from last year.
This is really good from Crimson Convict. If Auburn loses by double digits, does John Cohen's car start on Sunday morning?
Ouch.
It goes back to the car analogy for those of you who are like, what, huh? Cohen, when he was asked about potentially replacing a coach, something to the fact, well, my car's running okay now, but not to say that one day it doesn't start and then I got to reassess the situation.
He said, yeah, he expects his car to start every morning, but if you get to a point where your car's not starting consistently, then maybe you need a new car.
If Bama and Indiana played tomorrow, what would the line be?
Depends
neutral
on where
site.
neutral site?
I'm just throwing it out there, neutral site. Say Alabama 3.5.
I would almost.
I was going to go like 1.5 Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to go very close to a pick 'em. And the total would be like 65.
Margin for error, there's 2 to 3 points. But we all agree it would be under 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, it would be field goal at most either way, I think.
Bama wins by 14, 45-31.
Oh, speaking of that.
That'd be good.
So I was perusing around. I like to do this. So earlier in the week, we had Rodney Orr tell us 34-27 Bama. VolQuest, which is the site for On3 that covers Tennessee, they got Bama winning 41-38. Bill Connolly at ESPN, he has Bama winning 29-27. Very odd score. We heard Rodak 40-34. Alex Scarborough, his teammate there at Bama 247, he's got Bama 45-38. And Brett Greenberg from Bama 247, he's got the Tide winning 51-35. It's 86 points. So if you like the over, I haven't seen anybody that's, I guess technically, maybe the Bill Connolly pick at 29-27 would be under.
I would be floored if Alabama does not at least score in the high 30s.
Yeah, for those that do not know, and there's a very good reason why Landrum has been beating this drum all week. Remind everybody that you have seen Tennessee on the field up close and personal this year, especially their defense.
Yeah, for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Their defense has holes. They just don't have the dudes. Good with the pass rush at times, but they got bubbles in their defense. I don't know what they're going to do. You got good defenses have a hard time matching up with Alabama's secondary. I think Alabama will have a day, especially with explosive plays.
In regards to what you saw from Joey Aguilar at field level.
No, he's good. He's better than I thought he was.
Yeah.
But still at times it's why are you throwing it there?
Yeah.
Get him under a little bit of duress and he'll throw it to the other team. Or he has.
So that's why Landrum, because Landrum has been on the field feet away from Tennessee offensively and defensively. So you got to see him up close when UAB played there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, UAB had other opportunities. And they were able to move the ball. They put up, 24 points in that game? Just saying.
You're making Conrad all happy in there.
And I try not to.
I know.
But I owe it to our listeners to be honest. A lot of you asking questions about UAB. Let Conrad answer all of those.
Thank you, Landrum.
Hearing Stoops' name tossed around as a candidate for the Virginia Tech job. If that happens, I think Summerall has to be considered his replacement at Kentucky. I'm shocked his name hasn't been mentioned more. It has for other vacancies. He wins at both programs he's been a head coach at. Yeah, John Summerall is very, very good. Is Kentucky his dream job? Wouldn't it be something if he was offered the Auburn and the Kentucky job? Which one would he choose? Played at Kentucky. Which one would you choose, Conrad?
If I'm John Summerall, it's hard to tell Mama no, but he seems like somebody that wants to compete and win at the highest level. I would go to Auburn. You know what you're getting in the Kentucky job. If you want a cushy job where you can just meet the bare minimum and exist, then that's great. But if you want to go and try to win a national championship, you go to Auburn.
205-834-9450. Keep the text rolling in. Lots more to get to. More football conversation. A huge weekend in the SEC. We'll do it next.
So we're just talking about some of the predictions that have been coming in this week for the Alabama-Tennessee game, the third Saturday in October. Also wanted to add Vince Ferrara, who is from our sister station up in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was on the program earlier this week. He did not give us a score, Conrad, but he did say that this was going to be a high-scoring game. Thought it would be a fourth-quarter game in regards to Alabama and Tennessee. Did not give us a point total.
No, but a lot of people, if you've been following the trends that we just discussed it, over seems to be a popular bet. Just it's going to be a high-scoring game one way or the other, and Landrum laid out why he views that way. And I think, again, Mike laid it out perfectly. There's no bigger discrepancy in this game than Alabama's passing attack versus Tennessee's secondary, and it being the worst secondary in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, so we'll see if Alabama attacks that effectively coming up tomorrow night. The other game that we've been spending, obviously, a great deal of time talking about because there's so many storylines between Auburn and Missouri. Missouri losing to Alabama last week. They're trying to get back on the winning side of things. Meanwhile, Auburn is still searching for their first Southeastern Conference win of the year, as a lot of pressure has been mounting on this offense for Auburn that just has not scored many points. We told you yesterday that the Auburn undercover crew, they gave their predictions. Jason Caldwell had Mizzou winning 24-19. Christian Clemente had Mizzou winning 14-6. Nathan King went Missouri 27-17. Philip Marshall went Auburn 28-20. Ronnie Sanders, the publisher of Auburn Undercover, went Auburn 27-24. Patrick Bingham, also of Auburn 247, said Mizzou 27-15. Eli Hoff, who was on our program yesterday from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, he said Mizzou by a touchdown. Bill Connolly of ESPN, he has predicted Mizzou to win 27-22. And Power Mizzou 247, that's obviously the 247 site that covers Mizzou, they've got Mizzou winning 23-13. So got a lot of discrepancy there on how the Auburn offense will do tomorrow night against a Mizzou defense that is still one of the higher-ranked defenses in the Southeastern Conference.
So of the last 4 games, including Missouri, of the last 4 games, so Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, Missouri, do you feel like this is maybe the most favorable, I guess, of all those games, the best chance for Auburn to get a win?
Especially playing at Jordan-Hare, for me, yes.
Jordan-Hare, yes.
Okay. I just think that's important because I get it. I get why it's all doom and gloom this week and people are frustrated, but I think it is good to remember that you have played 3 very, very difficult opponents. Missouri's also going to be difficult, but this one maybe you could see where there'd be a little more optimism.
It's just really hard for me to imagine if you drop this, you start out 0-4 for the 3rd straight season, given the games that you have left until you get to Alabama. Well, Vanderbilt, I guess you would count them, but I mean, minus winning the Iron Bowl, you run those games that Hugh Freeze keeps his job. But according to people that you talk to, some of the powers that be, Wimp told us, they're talking the Oklahoma game up as getting screwed by the officials, and I don't know. Still lost the game.
If you're an Auburn fan, you are hoping to find some form of offense.
Yeah.
Some form of offense, because we told you earlier this week just how good the Auburn defense has played this year. And if you're a Mizzou fan, this is the part that you got to be concerned with, because up until the Alabama game, I know your competition was not very good, but you buzzsawed everybody by running the football. So Mizzou's averaging 271 yards rushing a game. Last week, they only had 163 against Alabama. And Auburn's got a better defensive front than Alabama. Auburn has been able to shut down the opposition trying to run the football. Matter of fact, Auburn has held the opponent under 100 rushing yards in 4 of 6 games this season. In 10 of the last 18 games, the Auburn defense has not allowed 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, this is a running back and Ahmad Hardy that they faced last year. A lot of these guys did.
Yep.
DJ, and there's at some point you're going to have the down week, especially if the offense continues with their woes. But if there's anything you feel good about going into a game, it's the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
They've been consistent.
And defense travels, and you've seen that. Kept them in the game in Oklahoma, kept them in the game at Texas A&M, and obviously last week they were able to shut out Georgia in the first half.
Yeah, so now you've got a guy like Pribula.
I was not impressed by if he has to throw the football against Auburn, that's a bad sign if you're a Missouri Tiger fan.
But yeah, I agree. Keldrick Faulk getting after him, DJ dialing up some stuff.
He was rattled last week.
Yeah.
And Auburn will bring more pressure than Alabama, or do a better job of putting pressure on him than Alabama did.
In the crowd energy, it will be a back against the wall mentality that we get Saturday night in Jordan-Hare.
I think it's just so important. It's always important, but you get out to you need that crowd to be in it the entire time. You don't need to get out to Missouri's up 10-0 after the first quarter and people start to get that doubt creeping in. You need to give them a reason to be loud and stay engaged for 60 minutes.
Yes. More than 40 yards of offense in the second half.
Correct.
But if Hardy can get the run game established, and they have success there, and it plays into what Missouri's blueprint is, why their success.
They're going to be tough to beat.
They will be. And I think a lot of people that is picking Mizzou to win, and based on the scores that we've seen, they just do not believe that all of a sudden Auburn is going to find the offense that they've been searching for.
And why would you?
Yeah.
We've been calling for it, waiting for it for 3 games, 3 straight games now with Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and then last week at Georgia. We still haven't gotten it. Why would it be different this week?
Yeah.
It is what it is. Unless they come out and they decide that they want to run, Wildcat every play with whoever.
Maybe give it a try.
Eric Singleton?
Maybe try that. Well, you go back to the game against Georgia last week. Wasn't that the first play that did like a jet sweep or something to Singleton, I think? And you saw that a couple times and finding different ways to get involved. And I get it's technically a pass, but it works just like a run, right? We've talked about that with Alabama. Can you find creative ways if you can't run the ball up the middle with your running backs, other ways to essentially get plays that are the equivalent to runs with some of your playmakers? Find a way to give them the ball if the quarterback can't.
You gotta have counter calls, and that's the thing that's concerning to me is that last week you had a great plan in the first half and you executed the plan. You came with the same plan in the second half. You see if they adjust. Georgia, they're so good at it. Kirby adjust. But you don't have anything else to go to. You keep running the same stuff and just frustrating. It's frustrating to watch.
One thing that's not frustrating, and that's Abide Roofing. And you can get a free consultation and estimate by simply calling Abide Roofing today at 205-941-6223 or go to the website abideroof.com, because if you're tired of worrying about your roof, whether it's your family home or commercial building, Abide Roofing delivers tailored solutions for every need. At Abide, it's about more than just a new roof. It's about a team of highly skilled pros, local pros that are ready to serve you, whether it's some loose shingles, a brand new roof replacement, whatever the case may be. With over 25 years of trusted experience, they have the expertise to get the job done right the very first time. I endorse these guys 1,000%. They were on my roof multiple times. They helped me with my insurance company, in which I was able to get a full roof replacement. And I've got the peace of mind of knowing it was done right. It was done great. The products are warranted. And you know what? If I got an issue, I will call them back at 205-941-6223. So don't forget, free consultation and estimate. That's Abide Roofing, 205-941-6223.
Is Ted Roof still at UCF? I'm just thinking about Roof. It's Ted Roof.
He might be.
Hope he's doing well. Hey, Coach, if you're listening, we'll continue 3-man front on this Friday. 11:46, a football Friday here on Three Man Front. Landrum, Pat, Conrad, and Molly. Our next guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one. Our buddy JR, takingvegas.com. He brings it every single Friday. JR, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding, Landrum. Couldn't be more excited. We've got an action-packed weekend ahead of us. Had a great game for Thursday night last night. It's finally a year where we could say Thursday night football has been really, really exciting. There's been some good matchups this year, and obviously we've got college football happening tomorrow, and none other than another big win for everybody that wants to make some money this weekend. So here's what you do. Text the word WIN, that's W-I-N, to the number 545454. I'm going to give you the point spread winner of Tennessee at Alabama, 5-1 against 5-1. You guys already probably know this. Alabama opened up a 12.5-point favorite. They're now an 8.5-point favorite. I'll let you know whether or not they not only win this game, but whether or not they will cover this matchup. All you have to do is text the word WIN. That's W-I-N to the number 545454, and you'll get that winner right back via text message. Do not waste this weekend, guys. I'm telling you now, I'm setting the table for next week because there's a game next week that we've been looking forward to all season. It is a matchup that I'm telling you we just absolutely love. So everything we make this weekend, I'm going to have put on that one game next week. So do yourself a favor. Let's get your bankroll generating in the right direction, and let me give you the winner of Alabama-Tennessee for free. Text the word WIN to 545454, and it'll come right back to you with that point spread winner.
JR, you alluded to it. Thursday night football in the NFL has been fantastic. Last night, you get the Steelers and the Bengals. The Bengals pull out the win. What are your big takeaways from the NFL so far this season?
I mean, I guess, there's so much there. Let's face it, the AFC North, perfect example. Last night, Steelers-Bengals, everyone came into that game saying there's no way the Steelers can lose. Bengals' secondary looked non-existent. They had no running game. I think Chase Brown came into that matchup averaging under 3 yards a carry. He was on fire. You got T. Higgins, who was their number 2, was on fire. And then Jamar Chase, under Joe Flacco, just broke the record for the most receptions in a game with 16 and was on fire. Guy couldn't do anything wrong. So, and Flacco still at his age, and is 40 years old, going out there, throwing tight spirals, taking quarterback sneaks. What a great, great, great game. And some of the other things that kind of stand out to me is, Seahawks this year have been playing great defense. No one's talking about. Same thing with the Texans. They're playing each other this week, and that total is only 41.5 and has been dropping. But both of these teams have been playing outstanding defense. The 49ers, normally with this kind of injury prone that they've been early in the season, we've known years past that they usually fall apart, but to keep it all together and still be 4-2 and to win this past Sunday, not even getting everybody back, this is something to look forward to in the NFC, and I think we'll be talking about them in a couple of months as probably one of the top contenders in the NFC. And there's more I can go, but I'll go on forever, Landrum.
I'm just need a quick tutorial. I'm not asking for all your secrets and you and your staff, but when you dive into college football, you dive into NFL, you're trying to break down a game. How much do they differ in the way that you approach the two?
College football is so different, and especially at the beginning of the year, and that's because of the NIL, the transfer portal. Just it's a different animal completely. In the NFL, even when there's trades done, like last night, Flacco going to Cincinnati, you know who he is, you know what you're going to get. In college, you've got kids that are sitting literally second string at major universities like Alabama, and they get a phone call from the USF. South Florida says, "Hey, why are you sitting on the bench? You can start here, and I know you're making no money there, but we'll give you $100,000. And it's happening everywhere. Texas Tech, everyone knows that their coffers are full of cash, which is why now they're becoming more and more relevant. They're getting great players, and they're moving up that ladder. And it's just became a completely different way of looking at games than what it was just 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we were able to, really pick and choose, and you could see what starters were coming back, and it was just a lot easier to be able to get a good line on what was going to happen, especially early in the year where we had some advantages. Now, I think it's detrimental to do anything at the early onset of the season in college football and in college basketball for that matter, which is why come college basketball. And you guys know how great we are. We are so good at college basketball. I hit nearly 66% of my games in college hoops last year for my VIP club. That's an insane number, guys. And I can tell you right now that in doing so, and with the way that we approach it, we don't do anything at the beginning of the year. We wait for conference play. So about 5-6 weeks into the season is when I start really hammering in college basketball, and I really look forward to the tournament, obviously.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention money management. We preach that. If you're going to play, we encourage you to play responsibly, right?
And no one should be betting with money that they cannot afford to lose. And that's, one of the things that I do, obviously, with my organization. I've got a lot of guys that work under me, and that's mainly for the folks that are just doing this for some fun. They're not betting very big, but they want to win a little bit more than they lose, and that's great. But the guys that I talk to, one of the first things I tell them is, listen, I need to know really the amount of money that you could play around with, where if you lost it, you might get angry, you might get a little upset, but it's not going to have an effect on your life. And that's the amount that I want to lay out a strategy for. And, it's different for everybody. Some people only are working with, a couple of thousand. Some guys are working with a couple of 100,000. So not only the amounts, but the different strategies that I'll use. Like one of the things is a 50-33, adding 50% every 3 net wins, lowering it by 33% on 2 net losses. And I can get into a 20-minute conversation on that. Another one is 25 games, using 5 games at a time to change the amounts that we're going to bet on the next 5 games, and so on and so forth. So I'm a grinder, right? And you guys know this about me. I'm not one of these guys that normally talks about making a score. I'm very big on picking up 7 to 15 or even 20% in a weekend and looking forward to the next week and having stop losses in place. So this week, though, I'm calling it Set the Table, because there really is a game going off next weekend on Saturday that we've been looking forward to for weeks. And I really do, that it's going to win in blow-up fashion. We're going to just absolutely kill it on that game. So everything my clients make this week, I'm telling them in advance, we're putting it on that one game to double up. And if it did lose, for whatever reason, we're only losing this week's profit. We're not going to take away from the overall bankroll, and that is smart money management. So make sure you give us a shout, guys. Text the word WIN to 545454, and you're going to get the Alabama-Tennessee game absolutely free. Again, text the word WIN to 545454 to get that Alabama-Tennessee game for free via text message.
We got to get off the mat from last week. Free pick. You're going Monday Night Football out of the NFL. Tampa Bay taking on the Detroit Lions. Who do you like in this one?
I do. You know what? I mean, listen, last week I told you guys to get in the Colts before it was, Jacoby Brissett. And once, Kyler Murray was out, Brissett was in, and the line went from 6.5 up to 9.5. Even I upgraded it. I loved it. I never expected Jacoby Brissett to come out and look like Joe Montana in that game, and for the Colts to have to get a last-minute, score to be able to get the W, no less, not even near the cover. So let's keep it safe. And look, Baker Mayfield's playing MVP football right now. No one's not talking about it, right? A lot of that's been happening at home, and most of it, almost all of it, has been come from behind. You're not going to be able to do that in Detroit. This Detroit team offensively is going to put up a lot of points, especially against that somewhat Swiss cheese Buccaneers defense. And I'm looking for them to run away with it. Tampa Bay's not going to be able to make that last-minute comeback because they're going to be down too many points early, especially going into having to play on the turf, in the dome. It's going to be really hard on Baker without all of his weapons. So look to get in. And look, that number's going up. The public's betting the Bucks, and the number's going up. So get it in early. Get in the Lions right now before it goes to 7 and higher.
Great stuff, JR. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Enjoy.
JR, TakingVegas.com. More conversation. Bet it or forget it. You don't want to miss that coming up in the next hour. Once again, Lions on Monday night. We continue the Friday edition of Three Man Front.